Vision. Following clues left by our ancestors, we unbury the past to reveal a knowledge of unfathomable value, putting us just a little closer to our own true birthrights. From the secret history of a possible bloodline of Jesus Christ, the secret history of America's founders, to the secret history of extraterrestrial interaction on our planet, here to bring light to the night. Your host for Night Vision Radio, Renee Barnett.
Hey everybody, welcome to Night Vision. I am your host, Renee Barnett. So glad that you could join us tonight. At the end of the week, I tell you, I always look forward to this because it sort of is a departure from my day-to-day, although I'm pretty much steeped in a lot of this research and information during the course of the week. This sort of gives me a chance to just sit back and talk to some super interesting people and learn. You know, this is the biggest benefit that I get from not only doing this show, but in the work that I have done in television. I get to meet a lot of really good people, and I've made some really good and now very long-standing friends. And tonight, one of those friends was to be my guest. You guys probably know Court Lindell, and he had a little bit of an emergency situation come up, so he kindly introduced me to a wonderful woman who is going to be our guest along with another friend of hers, and they're doing some exciting work on the Templars in America, and I'm going to tell you about them in just a moment. But first, I'd like to just put out a little word, mentioning that, work in television and film. Right now, I'm working with someone who is gathering paranormal clips. So if any of you guys have any video clips of UFOs, of ghosts, of shadow people, of or EVPs, or something weird that happened, even poltergeist activity, anything that's paranormal and looks pretty good, is what we're looking for. So if you have any of those clips, I would love for you to send those to me, or at least reach out to me so that we can chat and I can see if there's something that would be beneficial to you in the project that I'm doing. So I am furiously now looking for the banner with my email address on it, and I can't find it, but I'll put it up shortly. But just right now, you can send it to info@newrennies.com, and that is new, RENNIES.com. Just send it to info@newrennies.com, and I'll be checking that for messages. And, if you have some clips that you would like to see on TV and possibly make a nice little fee for, then reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Plus, I'd love to see what you have, because I'm always interested in that sort of thing myself, because it's, a lot of things that are unexplained out there. But without further delay, I'd like to get into my guest for tonight. First is author, researcher Gretchen Cornwall, along with her associate, Wayne Murphy, who is a Mohican tribal elder and also the director of Team Templar North America, and of which they're both a large part. Now, I'm not seeing Wayne, so I'm hoping that he's able to join us later. I know he's in a rural location, and he's possibly not able to join us at the moment, but as he pops up again, we will pop him right on. So first, let's say hello to Gretchen.
Good evening, Renee. It's a privilege and so lovely to meet you.
Oh, it's so great to meet you too. And I apologize profusely for the last minute nature of the request, but I so appreciate Court reaching out to you on my behalf.
Oh, well, I respect Court's research, and he's such an academic. He is truly one of the tops in our field, in the Knights Templar field and beyond.
He's made so many amazing connections, and he just keeps,
Yeah.
beavering away at it. And every other day, I get a message from him saying, "Look what I just found," and I'm going like, "I don't believe it." That is, and so it seems like there are so many webs of connections throughout this material that are still yet to be found.
He's very gifted. He is very gifted, and he's using his gifts, which is a blessing to all of us. So
yeah, so we want to send a big hello out to Court tonight and to his beautiful wife, Diane. I know they've got some family things going on right now, which I totally understand, and wishing them all the best, sending them some love and comfort, and just hoping the best for them and their situation. So, and Court will be on soon. He's got a new book out there on the Arcadian Mysteries, and he and I have been gabbing all week about Williamsburg and the Bruton Vault. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to add this to the discussion on our show. So we'll have a lot of things to talk about when Court is able to make it.
Terrific. Well, yes, I look forward to learning from him and also from yourself, and hope to impart what I've discovered as well, and what Wayne Murphy has discovered. Really, Team Templar North America started out with he and I. I should probably let him introduce himself, but I've just finished 2 weeks investigating a remote area of Wisconsin, and this is my second trip into the woods. And this time we brought 2 other colleagues. I believe there are 5 of us now. And we are also consulting with Sean Williamson, who is a master stonecutter and related to Clan Gunn, and right out of Scotland and Clan Sinclair. He was their archivist at Caithness.
Oh.
So he is about as steeped in Templarism as anybody could possibly be. And you should see the objects he creates. It's incredible. And Wayne is just a gifted leader. He's retired law enforcement of many years. And he was raised on the Mohican Reservation. He's half Mohican, half Irish. And it's as if 2 worlds have collided in this man, and I really look at him as a modern day knight. It's fantastic. But he brought all of us together for our various levels of expertise. I do have 1 book out on the first investigation that took place a couple of years ago, and we have found cross pates, a chamber or initiation tomb. And I believe, this is my thought, and of course with anything you have to put a small question mark over it, because that's a responsible thing to do. I know what I think about this, but when you start discovering European carvings, which require European tools, and the erosion is such that it is commiserate with medieval markings in Europe, and I've lived in Europe for almost 20 years now. And it's been such a wonderful ride. It's like history for Disneyland history. It's truly fantastic. And as a writer and historian, I'm just very blessed to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're American originally?
I am. And my family is in Washington State, and I moved to England. And I just loved it and decided to stay. So it is a fantastic, interesting place to live. Both countries are. But it's given me, 20 years is a long time to absorb information. And I've been going to Templar sites, looking at Mason marks, carvings, architecture, stone cutting, and I felt that I was very qualified to look at what Wayne had discovered. He contacted me with a photograph of a badly eroded cross pate. And I said, "Is that what I think it is?" And of course, as I'm falling off my chair, "Where is this? Where are you?" And he said, "Wisconsin." And I just thought, "Are you kidding?" What? So I had to go from being a skeptic to it took me a year of talking to him, looking at photographs, asking him questions. And eventually I thought, if I don't go, I will never know. So that perhaps that opportunity, if this eventually is what we think it is, of course, it must be vetted across several different disciplines and sciences. So I took up the banner and went to Wisconsin, and it was incredible. And since that initial discovery, another location has been found that has absolutely, I had no expectations that we would find what I believe to be a sister site to Ross Castle in Nova Scotia. Now, granted, it's early days, and there are others involved and interested, an archaeologist, and we have Sean Williamson, and he is an operative stonemason. He does reconstruction work for churches, vetting fraudulent items for museums. You know, he's if you have a problem with your castle, he's the one to talk to. But certainly I've been able to give what I believe to be a very strong assessment. And this report that I put together, photojournal of my time there on the reservation. And I had to be vetted. I had to apply before the council. The president had to approve my application, and I was not allowed to go anywhere on the reservation without being accompanied. So it is a nation within a nation, and I wanted to respect that.
Sure.
And the book, The Templar Quest to North America, I believe shows my concern, and I hope my reverence for their land and their peoples and their cousins. And Wayne and I, he's a tribal elder, truly think that if the Templars had gone that far westward, which I do believe they did, and there are multiple reasons for that, they would have done so as allies. And this would have been early exploration. They would have been there as trading partners, and there wouldn't have been so many of them as to have caused alarm amongst the tribes.
Right.
So there's no way any European would have survived without the assistance of warm-hearted peoples. And that is how the Pilgrims survived the first year.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
that's so interesting. You know, I love Wayne's background. I'm so sorry he's having problems joining us, but I love the fact that he has the, you know, the Native American connection and the tribal connection, and then the European connection as well. Really, really interesting.
It's fascinating.
I have a lot of friends. I grew up in Oklahoma, which unfortunately is where a lot of the you know, tribes ended up because they were forcibly pushed there.
Yes.
But it was our game there in Oklahoma, and we have, I think, something like over 120 tribes there, and I think 30 something that are actually headquartered there. So it's really interesting in that those traditions and everything are sort of built in, you know, to those who grow up in that area, even though, of course, you know, most people don't know, you know, what it is that it's all about. But certainly we had a lot of that influence. And I've had a lot of opportunities, both while I was living there and then in the course of my work doing documentaries, was speaking to a lot of tribal members, tribal elders, medicine men, and things like that. And it's just so incredibly interesting to get that perspective. And I found and learned so many things that I think, oh my gosh, if I hadn't asked, I would not have known this, because they don't boldly shout everything out. That's not the way normally. But if you go and, look for the answers, usually they're pretty generous about talking with you and sharing that, as long as you are respectful.
Yes, and that was a concern I had, the term cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to give off the attitude or vibe that we were coming in, or I was, to show them how it was. No, we were concerned about taking work that might have been done by Native Americans and claiming it as European. So what we did is we went south 90 miles to Roche Cree State Park. And that is known to have Native American carvings in sandstone cliff face walls. And there was no comparison. And those photos are in my book as well, The Templar Quest to North America.
Oh, wow. Now, you have another book, right?
Yes. It is the Knight Templar of the Sangreal. And that is a large, the Secret Dossier of a Knight Templar of the Sangreal. That is a large book. It certainly took 9 years to write.
Oh, my goodness.
I did have sections that were given to me by an individual who wanted to be anonymous.
Mm.
So I named him John Temple. And he contributed maps and other historical pieces of interest, which...
Now, you have absolutely whetted my appetite here. So can you just at least give me, like, how was it that he happened to have these materials? Is it a family connection? Is he a collector? Is he,
family, which is, and he has a very large, he's actually... he must have at least 1,500 family members that he knows of, and he chose to remain anonymous. So I
and why do you think that is?
Well, I think there are multiple reasons why a person would choose to wish to stay incognito. As family secrets get passed down, you might not want to share certain things with the public. So we're certainly talking about secret society stuff here. What do they know? What do they have? How long have they had it? And he's an exceptional individual. He contacted me, found out I was writing a book, and I agreed to, in part, use some of his information. And I'm very glad that I did. But it was certainly not the entirety of the book.
Right.
The rest of it was my own work. But it certainly took over my original topic, and I actually had to put my original topic aside because there was just too much. I had to draw a line under it. But his information, along with my experience and research, worked together very well. So I opted to include him.
Oh, that's
in the book. And it's yes, it was an interesting experience. It truly was. But I felt blessed to have been able to come across two documents in particular. One from, I believe, 1169, or something like that. Mid 1100s, 12th century, and another one from the early 17th century, where Mary Magdalene is being venerated, but in code.
Wow.
And you had to know a little bit about her in order to understand what
Who
was
they were
being
talking about.
said.
Yes. Oh, that's so
So
interesting. Now, is that going to be in an upcoming book, or is that in?
it's in the current one that's out now. You
Oh,
you put the cover up just a moment
yep,
ago.
yep. I'm going to do it again.
Yes, there it is. There it is. Yes, there's a star chart in there that venerates Mary Magdalene as Cassiopeia, and also Hortus Delicarium. I believe that stands for the Garden of Delights, which looks as if it is an early medieval tracing board, if I might be so bold. But Mary Magdalene in that image is being portrayed as Sophia of the seven liberal arts. And
I wonder if there's any connection between the Garden of Earthly Delights and the Hieronymus Bosch painting of Garden of Earthly Delights, which is a strange, very strange painting, and obviously
yes,
meaning in it.
That looks like he went on a bad trip, doesn't it?
It does. I love this stuff because it's so busy and there's so many things.
And what's amazing is that's a Renaissance painting, and the skill is incredible. Yeah. It's off the charts. Really this is the earlier one from the 12th century is two-dimensional. It's flat. It's in a very it's an illuminated manuscript from an abbey. From the Abbess Herod of Landsberg. And that abbey was actually started by a Merovingian princess. So that might be an aside, but I thought it was rather interesting in itself. And it's not too far in Germany from the ancient city of Magdeburg that Charlemagne created. And that image is in the book as well. And the emblem for the city of Magdeburg, which is not too far away from the abbey, is a maiden holding aloft a sword and a palm branch. And she's standing on a large tower with two smaller towers next to her. So
there's that tower image.
Yes, tower. And I discovered that while taking a very short trip south of Berlin, and I came across a very interesting castle gate that was from the 1700s, and I could have sworn that the image above the gate was Mary Magdalene. It was incredible. A young woman standing next to a very large urn, and three children of varying ages, clinging to her. And that imagery is in the book. But what was so odd was there was a woman in a monk's robe in the center, I believe, and she was holding aloft a sword, and one knee was exposed as if she had a slit up her dress. And then there was a monk standing next to her with the opposite knee exposed. Very interesting, strange imagery.
What could that mean?
So I believe it might have been the early days of Rosicrucianism, and it is my thought that Templarism went underground, of course, but it reappeared in these different philosophical branches, such as Rosicrucian or Freemasonry. And yes, it's quite a wide topic. There is quite a lot of my first book cuts across a few thousand years of history. It also involves quantum mechanics and discusses the nature of consciousness, and quite a few chapters on Bernard de Clairvaux, who was a mastermind behind the Templar Knight Order.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So it does cover quite a lot of ground. And it was through that work, and I was blessed to have appeared on The Curse of Oak Island, and that was how Wayne Murphy discovered me. And that he searched for me on Facebook and sent me a photograph of a cross pate carving. So that's how we became
Wait
involved.
to see that. I wish I had an image of it to show people.
I know. I apologize if
No, no,
I've
no.
been a little bit more aware. This all happened so quickly
I know
today.
it did.
It happened so
This
quickly.
morning, I woke up, late as ever. I stay up super late at night, so I sleep in generally in the mornings. But the first thing I saw was the message from Court saying, "I'm really sorry, but I can't make it." And then I just started like freaking. And then he said, "But I have,"
Oh,
and then I thought, "Okay."
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then I thought, "Oh, but I haven't, prepared because I haven't read the book. I haven't done this, done that." And then he was telling me what you were talking about. And I looked and I said, "Oh, wait a minute.
We can
We
do
can
this.
do this."
We can do this. We know how to talk this one.
We can, yeah, it's really great. So, yeah, and I definitely want to get more into Mary Magdalene and some of that history, legend, and art, everything else, uh, more in the second hour as well. But now, so what was your first? It was this uh, when Wayne contacted you and sent you this photograph of this cross. Um, that was your first introduction to this particular site,
Yes,
and
yes.
you didn't
And
have a lot of knowledge about that.
well, and I was quite skeptical that
Oh,
the Templars could have penetrated that far west.
mm-hmm.
But when you start looking at the landscape and understand that the Native Americans, the peoples there, had been using the landscape in the same way that the Hudson Bay Company eventually used it, it is possible. So they would have come in through the St. Lawrence River Valley. And with canoes, of course, you certainly cannot take a large craft into these waters. It would have been in rivers, and they were used to doing that. They were part of the merchant society in Europe. They were in towns. They were growing corn and wheat and wheat and horseshoes. They were making wine. They were trading as well as supporting their brothers in the Holy Land. And I just went to in July a massive farm, the remains of it, north of London, Temple Crossing, and it is a massive barn. There are two of them, huge. And I found quite a lot of interesting information there that land eventually was wrested back by a family that had Templar connections. And in a church nearby, I wasn't expecting it at all. And it was just a fluke. The church was locked. Normally, British churches are open, but because of COVID, they keep them locked now. And it
Yeah.
didn't occur to me to call ahead. And I did try to call ahead, but nobody answered. So we get there and it's locked. And we wait for a few minutes. And a woman shows up and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry I'm late." And we think she's here for us. And then we realize she's there for another couple who happen to, their hobby as a retired couple is to go around as many churches as they can, photograph, remark on its history, and then they plan to give this volume of work over to the county historical archives. So it was an amazing experience. So I was able to see inside the church, and the Templars had bigger plans for this. They started out small, and it remains small, but the beams are huge, and they were meant to support a bell tower.
Mm.
And that followed in later centuries. But of course, Roslyn's story is the same. It was meant to be a much larger structure, and they ran out of money and they couldn't continue the project. So it remained a very small location. But in this was a marble memorial of a knight on his knees wearing white armor with red trim, and there's a Templar cross above his head. And this is in the I believe it was the late 1400s. And his wife is across from him, kneeling, they're facing each other, but the entire monument was filled with Templar Knight imagery. And that was the family that managed to get the farm back. Yeah, it was amazing. And they had supplied money to them in the past, sons. So there's more work to do there. But
And what's the name of that village?
Cressing Temple, Cressing, Cressing Temple Barns.
Wow.
These barns are massive. You could put 3 houses inside them easily.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty large Templar barn-looking structures in France. Quite a bit. In fact, I just saw one that I think it was in Saysac just recently. But you keep reminding me. My colleague James Martin, who's a historian, he's our sort of resident historian here on Night Vision. I've given him some time off. He's on holiday right now. Very jealous.
That's a very British expression, on holiday.
I hang around with so many Brits.
Yes, it rubs off after a while, doesn't it?
Because it's just easier, It
is. Yeah.
And I realized that the other day. I can't remember what it was that I said, but I thought, I wonder if people think, I'm trying to, speak that way. I'm not. It's just that I talk so much to British people constantly that it just kind of filters in,
Absolutely.
And I do that no matter what group I'm in. I kind of like lapse into whatever tone or dialect you're speaking in or something. But
I'm sure we could compare quite a few notes.
But he is he's British, but he lives in France now, and has I think his 3rd year there now. And he has put together a map of every Templar site around the world that he can identify. And he's got about 1,900 so far.
Oh, my word, bless him. Oh, that's amazing.
It's a whole amazing thing. It's going to be, interactive. It's tied in with Google Earth. You can spin it around. You can go in and, every site is marked by a little red cross. You click on the cross and a picture and information comes up about that particular site. And it'll continue to be updated. But, if you have access to it, you'll also be getting all the updates. And then we're asking people, hey, if you know of any sites that we should include, let us know. We'll check it out. If we feel like it fits, then if we can cooperate it, it'll go in there.
Yes.
But it's just unbelievable how many he's identified so far. And I know he's got a couple of crosses over there in the New World.
Wow.
He's got like question marks by them. So maybe you can help.
That's a responsible thing to do.
Get rid of those question marks.
Yeah, that's responsible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he's from Cumbria, by the way.
Oh my God.
He's a Cumbrian.
Okay.
He said, "Oh, she's got a lot of stuff about Cumbria going on." So anyway,
Cumbria is a very special place, and Sean Williamson has a studio there, so I'm sure that they would be able to.
Oh wow! I mean,
compare notes.
Who knows? Yeah, he's from Carlisle, and
right, yeah,
right, and not that far from Edinburgh. Just right there by the Scottish border.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's amazing to me that, now I'm meeting you, and it's like someone has got a body of work that I can now start chewing and diving into. And it's so wonderful that there's this going on all around the globe. And a lot of people, who don't write books, but they might be, doing some research. It's so nice to, to connect with people because you get little bits of information everywhere you go. And, somebody just might have that puzzle piece that you're looking for.
Oh, it's fascinating. And I feel so passionate about what I do. And when I do come across a new piece of information, I can't stand myself. I have to get up and make a cup of coffee and pace the room for half an hour because I understand the ramifications of what it means.
Absolutely.
And the last 2 weeks that the team has been in Wisconsin, oh God, it was a roller coaster. These huge highs and huge lows, and the terrain is so difficult. It's not a manicured state park. Wayne Murphy carved a walking stick for myself and the other two gentlemen, John Edwards, who's incredible. That man is so brilliant, and Jeff Freeman, who runs a group on Oak Island on Facebook. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing with him. He's just brilliant. And so all four of us were slogging through the woods, and for a week. And it was just so, I can't explain it. It was just all overwhelming. And things happened. You'll have to talk to John Edwards. And I didn't realize that he could have possibly been with us tonight. He said he would offer to call in, and I didn't know what that meant. And so I've begged forgiveness from him on that front. But he is so quick. He's very mercurial and a thinker, and he's our ghost magnet. Because every time we took a picture with him in it, guess what? There's an orb in it.
Oh my goodness.
Broad daylight. And I've never seen anything like it. So all of a sudden we had this extra layer going on that we had not expected at all. There are some photographs that we can't explain. Things that happened we can't explain. But there was definitely a paranormal or element to what we did. And Wayne is a very pragmatic person. He is not given to flights of fancy. You're talking about somebody that worked for Homeland Security, a Milwaukee police officer, retired sergeant, fraud investigator. I mean, there is no flight of fancy there. And raised on the land. I just respect he and his family. And I'm kind of hoping, he's half Mohican, half Irish. I'm kind of hoping there might be a Templar back in there in his DNA somewhere.
You never know.
So he's just taken a DNA test. We've got to wait for the results to come back. And of course, we need to do some family history. But Murphy, the Irish, of course, there were Templars in Ireland. And the Mohicans started out on the East Coast. And in 1836, they were forced from their homeland and marched to their current location in Wisconsin. And, they have their own Trail of Tears. And it's abominable what happened to them. So oddly, the Templars could have met the Mohicans in the St. Lawrence River Valley. And so now you've got Wayne Murphy, who's half Mohican, half Irish, living in Wisconsin, where his ancestors could have conceivably started a settlement there and left us archaeological evidence that they were there. So last night, I forgot to pack. I was online looking at every stone barn and stone house in Wisconsin just to make sure that what we were looking at was not that.
Right.
And I woke up in the morning and I realized I hadn't packed yet. So that was the start of my day, chaos, because I just simply got carried away with the research. But Site 4 is tremendous and blew me away. The year after I left there, he said, my son Paul has been hunting in the woods, and he sent a photograph. And he was sitting in what appeared to be a semicircle, disorganized semicircle of carved blocks. These things are big. These are 2 feet by 3 feet long. Each side has been squared, proper corners. And I thought, am I really seeing this? And then Wayne reported back, I don't know, 6 months later and said, well, there appear to be 50. And I was killing myself trying to figure out how to look at the photos different to glean more information. But it's not possible unless you're on the ground there. So we arrive, all 4 of us, and the road is so bad and full of water-filled potholes that he has to bring each one of us in via ATV. One ATV broke down. We were going to go in together on 2 ATVs, but he had to make, I believe, something like 12 trips in and back, and each way it was 45 minutes. So it was a long day and a lot hard, it was a hard slog. But this location is on a hill, which is what you would expect for, dare I say it, a medieval fortress. And it's plateaued off, and it is littered with hundreds and hundreds of carved stone blocks. Mm-hmm. And Wisconsin, there's an area here where the glacier receded and dumped huge boulders and stones, some of them as large as buses and houses, massive things. So if a farmer wanted to raise crops, he had to clear the field. And those that have grazing animals, they just leave these monuments to nature where they lay. So this hilltop would have had all the timber they could have wanted and all the stone they could have wanted. And I don't know what I can say and what I should say, but we found stone carvings, blocks that were commiserate with early medieval castle building. And on one side, the north side, John Edwards realized he went down the hill. We all were wandering around as if we were in Alice in Wonderland's world. And Jeff Freeman and Wayne Murphy both had metal detectors. So they were busy doing that. I wandered off, John wandered off, and he called to me and he said, look, come down here and see this. So I walked down the side of the hill and he said, okay, look up. And what it looked like, and I had to agree with him, is if there had been a wall that someone had pushed down the hillside and these big blocks had tumbled down.
Yeah.
So I think over time, something had to have happened. And of course, we don't know what that would be, but it's possible that politics in the area changed and the Native Americans, unfortunately, fought between themselves. Perhaps the numbers of individuals, Templars, was growing at this site, and perhaps they decided that they better prevent further growth. But the Templars, and I know there are people out there going, oh my word, this is just not possible. And that's truly what I thought. But I did take on board that they were on the East Coast, and there's a historical progression for that. Now, Court Lindahl, bless him, I do respect him, but he disagrees with me on this, and that's fine. We can disagree. I still respect him. And the gentleman we brought in, Jeff Freeman, he's neutral, and he just shook his head and said, well, I don't know what this is, but it's very old. There might be vaults underneath. We don't know what we're walking on. Somebody did this a very long time ago. And obviously, if you're going to take time to carve blocks like that, you are past needing to survive, because this is an extra step. Everyone, if you look at the tiny little cabins at the state park in Tennessee, where they have preserved these original frontier cabins, they're tiny because it was hard work. You had to get water, you had to hunt, gather, try to start a farming patch, you're busy day and night doing that. You're not going to, oh, well, I think I'll build a castle. You can't. You need resources. You need money. You need men. You need trained men. It's not a lark. And if you make a mistake, the structure falls down.
Mm.
So I was truly blown away. So it's been a week since I've been there, and I'm getting ready to fly out tomorrow, taking my amazing array of videos and video footage with me. And I know that the other three are looking through their work, and we've communicated with Sean Williamson. I know you would so enjoy speaking with him, and John Edwards, and Jeff Freeman and Wayne. We've all worked very hard and put together the case for this to be possible, but also looked at what could be a detraction. If you can answer the naysayer questions, then you've done your job. Okay. But we have to hang a question mark over this. And Wayne has engaged with an archaeologist who was not able to meet us during this trip. But I hope that this may be possible next year. We do need funding in order to have the capacity to have someone who understands ground penetrating radar, LIDAR, archaeology. And this gentleman, as far as I know, Wayne told me he knows nothing about the Knights Templar. So he is somebody, he's coming in cold, but he is experienced in archaeology in Jamestown, apparently. So he's assembled a fantastic team. And we will be going away and writing up our respective reports for round two. Round one is out, the Templar Quest to North America photojournal. And
in that photojournal, are there pictures of those blocks that you just saw? I would think not, because that's
no. But I will say this: I was haunted by what I thought was odd activity. And having spent 2 weeks with Wayne and his family and driving around this very rural environment, it's heaving with deer. There's bear, mountain lions, cougars, eagles. It's incredible. I've never seen so much wildlife in one area. So looking around, looking at the fields, you can't help but notice the boulders from the glacier dump, and they're rugged looking and they're strange looking and they're all sorts of different shapes, completely organic. And as they were tumbled along, edges got knocked off, very organic looking. Yeah. And everyone knows what that looks like. But when Wayne took me in to see the first location, which I have dubbed the Night Stone, I believe it is a Knight Templar standing effigy.
Mm.
And he took me to the tomb chamber. Wayne thought that perhaps it might be a literal tomb. I included that in the book. I myself thought it might be ceremonial.
Right.
So it's important to
kind of a structure.
Well, what I saw on the way in there were large stones that looked like they'd been cracked open. And a couple of them had, one slice is one thing. We've all seen images of wedges being driven in and the mallets going in, and then eventually it splits in half. But the other things that we saw, and I asked him to stop, and we were in a hurry. We weren't really looking for this, so I grabbed a few quick pictures out the window of the truck. And it looked to me like quarry activity, because it didn't have just one cut through the middle. It was pie shaped. It looked like it was being worked in order to do something with it.
Mm.
And the tomb, which is down from the Night Stone, you can't even see the tomb. You have to know what the Night Stone is. It's a marker. That's what we have surmised. And there was there's a triangle on it as well with a capstone. So it's wild stuff. And the front of this effigy of this night stone, there is a kite shield on it with a cross and also amulets.
No.
Amulets are a heraldry device denoting a fifth son or seventh son, I believe fifth, who goes into the priesthood. And it's a round circle. And whenever you see round circles in heraldry, it's always a coin, unless it's the Medici's, the Medici balls, which could be gold, as that had been how it was sold at one point, going back that far. But these amulets, punched coins, are a heraldry device. And as of yet, I have not identified families that would have carried that, but there are numerous families in France that would have had that device.
Mm.
And so on the side of this, I removed the lichen off of one side of this structure, and there's a triangle on it. And he had been hunting in those woods for 40 years. And he started watching programs, and he started seeing Knights Templar, and he thought, maybe not. Wait a minute, I think I know what that looks like. I know what a cross pate looks like. And on the front of the Nightstone is a cross pate. And the difficulty with that is at that time it was eroded. And in Wisconsin, you have weather where you've got 5 feet of snow and you've got heat. The first time I was there, the weather was atrocious. There were thunderstorms. It was blazing hot. But if you get water in behind a crack, and then you've got heat expansion and contraction with freezing, you will lose carvings. And I plan to do a video soon to discuss that. And in my book, I talk about that. So I compared his carvings with a carving in Portugal that was highlighted in the program Buried Nights. Excellent program, 4 episodes. And in the last episode, it culminated on this cross pate. And you could barely see it. And the heroes of the piece were looking at it in shade and in bright sunlight, and the camera's moving over it, having trouble, and they're experimenting with the lighting, but you can see it. And it shows up better in a camera lens, oddly, than sometimes with the human eye. And the flip happens of that as well. The lighting is crucial. It's very challenging. And of course, when you get a carving that degrades at different rates, it doesn't just smoothly wear down, bits break off and fall off. So this was for myself a rescue mission to this location. It had been 2 years since I'd been there. I wanted to make sure that I could catalog as much as I could, because Wayne told me after last winter, he said, Gretchen, I've got some really bad news for you, but we've lost half a fish, we've lost a triangle, we've lost the sword in the tomb. But once, if I were 800 years old to 400 years old, I probably wouldn't, be looking so well after a while either. But it's difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to identify. But I know what I've been studying for 20 years in England and in Europe. And I have the confidence to look at that and say, yes, let's consider this, and let's rule out other possibilities, such as Rocher Cree State Park and Native American carvings there, so that we are not running down the fool's path and criminal path of cultural appropriation. So we want to be respectful. And in all truth, there is no way they could have gotten that far west without an alliance. But we've come across many stories of intermarriage between early controversial settlers, and you all know the Sinclair story, later voyages. There are numerous stories of intermarriage.
Oh, absolutely. I know a lot of Cherokee from my area are Scottish. And of
Wow.
course, every tribal elder is a high-ranking Freemason in the Scottish Rite of the Cherokee Nation. So it's kind of interesting.
Oh my word. My world just became more fascinating.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot there. We're getting dangerously close to the top of the hour, and we will take a quick break. I'm sorry that we had the technical difficulties with Wayne. I know he's in a very rural area. It would have been interesting to get his take. We'll have to do it again sometime. But we'll continue on with some more Templar talk. And next hour, we're going to get into the one and only Mary Magdalene. Yes. All right. Thanks, everyone. And stay with us. We will be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Hi, welcome back to Night Vision. I am your host, Renee Barnett. If you just joined us, we are talking tonight with Gretchen Cornwall about Templars in America. We're also going to get into the Mary Magdalene plot here, which I know a lot of people are interested in. So I'm getting a buzz on the sound. I don't know if that's on my end or not. I hope not. But do you hear that?
I can hear a buzz. It wasn't there before.
There it goes. It went away.
Good.
At least it's very, very low.
All right.
Anyhow, we were talking about the Templars in America. We were talking about these sites with these big cut stones and, stones that had obviously been worked a long, long time ago. For you, so far, and I know you're skeptical, which I completely appreciate because I'm very skeptical as well, and I think that's healthy. I really do. I mean, it's easy to get on fire with this material and just sort of start, letting it lead you around. And you kind of have to make sure that you're corroborating everything. And, but it's great to also have an open mind because certainly, they could have come here. We know that certainly there were others coming here. So, definitely a possibility.
Yes.
But in finding in these sites and things that you've been looking at there and in your research, for you, what is the best evidence that the Knights Templar were in America?
It's complex because it has to be. You have to look at the history. You have to look at probabilities. And I believe that I have fully embarked upon that along with my other 4 colleagues as far as finding historical evidence, carvings, documents. Sean Williamson is a walking treasure trove. Another interviewer dubbed him royalty out of Scotland in the Templar world. He's a walking repository of knowledge and has recently been on season 2 of Lost Relics with Carl Cookson and Hamilton White. And I believe that airs here on September 27th. And I think he's in the first episode. So if you'd like to find out more about him, do watch Lost Relics and catch up with him there. But best evidence, well, look, if you look at history, we'll try to be brief, so not to bore you too much, but the Vikings were in Newfoundland in 1000 AD. That's established. Not too long ago, the location was dubbed a ship repair station. So we're not talking about a far-flung settlement, which it was, but we're talking about the need for a ship repair station. That implies traffic and repeated voyages. There is evidence going down the American coastline, and I can't remember where this is. It might be Vermont. I can't remember. Might be Baltimore, Maryland. But out in the water, it's covered over now. But there's a picture from the 1930s where you used to be able to walk out to this boulder, and there is runic writing on this. And you have to take a boat out to the island, and it's in military hands. You have to get permission to go out. So Josh Gates explored that. I adore Josh Gates. He's a great archaeologist. But you can learn a lot from him. But so you've got that. That might be considered circumstantial. But if you look at history, you have in 1000 AD a ship repair station in Newfoundland. Go forward 66 years, and William the Conqueror, who is Norse by descent, takes the English throne. And that ends the Viking age of raiding. Formally, because he made agreements with his cousins from Norway that they could establish themselves in York, in the north of England. So this is not too far away from 66 years is not that long.
No,
it's not. And the Vikings, Rollo married a Merovingian princess of Paris and was created a duke. The king wanted him to guard the mouth of the River Seine from further raids. They were raided once, the city of Paris. And the second time, they were ready for them. They put defensive structures in the river to prevent them from taking Paris, and then negotiated with them. And the king realized that he wasn't going to beat these people. He had to invite them in and get them working for him, which is what they did. So all that Viking knowledge of navigation, of sailing, of ferocity and skill then became part of the aristocracy of Paris and the Merovingian line. So there is a family link there, and that's where William the Conqueror comes from 200 years later. So you have this incredible power, and one of the instruments that the Vikings had, and it was held with great reverence and a state secret. You know, if you tried to steal it, they would probably kill you. It was thought to be a myth. The Viking sunstone is alluded to in the sagas. And it was thought to be a myth because it was discussed in such reverential terms. But an Elizabethan worship was excavated, if you will, obviously by divers who found a navigation box, pulled the navigation box up, and inside it was a piece of optical calcite. And it can only be found and mined in Norway. It's the only place on the face of the earth you can get it. And what you do, if you hold it up on a cloudy day, you can actually see and find the sun. So that was one of their instruments of how they navigated across the Atlantic. So in my first book, I went over a series of instruments over time, from the sunstone to the transom, to a paper I found by an individual that I believe is the Leonardo of his day in the 1200s, who worked for the King of Sicily. That should prick a few ears. And of course, you know, he flew the Jolly Roger. And so they had far more advanced navigation capacity than we give them credit for being. So here you have a Viking sunstone in an Elizabethan worship. But these families had intermarried, they were cousins, they were related. And once the Templar Knight Order split up, those individuals brought their skills to the crown that was protecting them. And through marriage, other state secrets and navigation tools were brought in. So it's complicated, it's convoluted, but I went into the progression of navigational tools from Chaucer's Astrolabe. He's not just a playwright of the Tales of Canterbury Tales. Mm-hmm. He was an amazing mathematician. So the kings and queens of Western European nations had access to some pretty amazing intel that they were able to utilize in order to make it to the New World. And we found evidence in the Vatican itself of Native American contact, and I won't go into that. I will let Wayne Murphy talk to you about that. I think I'm probably talking around the subject too much, but historically, there is evidence of 1000 AD in Newfoundland. You have a cousin of 200 years later in William the Conqueror taking the English throne. You've got the optical calcite and the navigation box of an Elizabethan worship, and of course there are the Sinclair voyages, which Sean Williamson will be able to discuss with you as well, of which he is well versed on. And I do think that Site 4 here in Wisconsin is commiserate with Ross Castle. I do think that it is indeed the sister site. Others in my team may not agree with me, but that's okay. I've been around long enough to understand when I'm looking at a medieval debris field. So, and there are some fascinating pieces, and I'm not sure how much I should say. I wish Wayne was here. But we found some carved stones that will knock people's socks off.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's going to be amazing.
I wish I could tell you. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to.
That big boulder that you could walk out to, and it had the runic symbols on it. I'm sure you must be familiar with the Heavener runestone in Oklahoma.
Yes, and I'm familiar with the Kensington runestone. I'm not familiar with the one in Oklahoma. But that is an area I've been presented. People have been writing to me about different objects they've been finding. And I would seriously like to take a look at that. But this location is
I would definitely encourage you to go. The runestone is really interesting. I used to play on it when I was a girl. I had some really close friends that lived in Heavener, which is where the runestone is, and I would go stay with them in the summer, and we would go to the park, which is Heavener Runestone Park, and we would climb all over it. You can't get to it now; it's encased with glass. But at that time, at that time, everyone said, "Oh, it's Indian writing." It's some kind of Indian writing. And then a woman by the name of Gloria Farley actually decoded it, translated it. People totally laughed her out of the room until several years later. And finally, thank goodness, it was before she passed. Her work was actually accepted as authentic. So that was really great. But I'm wondering if there are others like that, because you talked about that big boulder there, and this is also a big boulder.
Yes, well, this does not have runic writing on it. The imagery is of Templar extraction. And the method of carvings are of Templar extraction. I apologize. You were asking for proof of Templars in North America.
And that's what I was
So what I was trying to do was establish a link between the Vikings and the crown of France and also of England. And I do make a progression of that in my first book, and I continue that in my second book, which was, but this is all Templar iconography: a sword, a Christian fish, triangles, which are directional up and down. And of course, that's representative of masculine and feminine qualities, and they're all alchemy symbols as well, but they're also directional. And they also have another element of being a doorway. And but there is a sword in the tomb, which is sadly deteriorated. Some of the carvings on what I call the Nightstone has deteriorated. The triangle on the side of the Nightstone with a floating capstone has lost one of its arms, which is sad. But we've got photographs from my first visit here, and some of those more striking images are in that book. The kite shield, which is the shield the Knight Templar wore, used, and along with amulets decorating the outskirts of the kite shield. So there are we have not come across runic writing, because I think we're looking at anywhere from 1200s into the Sinclair voyages and post pre-Columbian Templar descendants. So that's what I think we're looking at. And so once you start looking at each individual piece of information and you put it all together, then you have a strong case. You're never going to find a letter that says, I, Joe Templar, went to North America on such and such date. I know the Kensington runestone is controversial, and that's 200 miles west of this location on a straight trajectory, which I find intriguing.
Yeah, now, I agree about it being controversial. For me, I just couldn't tell you one way or the other. I know Scott Walter really well. I took Scott with me to France several years ago, and we kind of taught him about Mary Magdalene and showed him all the references in the painting.
Oh, it's your fault.
I think they drove him a little crazy, but yeah, and with all due respect, I just don't know.
And that's fine.
I hear about controversy, and just like you said, I don't agree with everything the court says. However, I respect his work immensely.
Absolutely. Yeah, and
every single thing.
I take my hat off to Scott Walter as a researcher. He's he does wonderful documentary work as well, and this is a small, rare pool of people that feel very passionately about this subject. It's what I live and breathe for. It helps me make sense of my life, and it's wonderful to learn from others and respect each other and be there for each other if we can be. And I will certainly do everything I can to do justice to the topic. But it's kind of scary to put your flag down and say, I am 99% sure the Templars were here in Wisconsin. But I'm pretty convinced.
Are you definitely in that direction?
Yes.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Now, what about this area? And maybe there's no connection at all, and maybe there is, but the whole upstate New York, Hunter Mountain, and that area where Zena Halpern was doing some research, and
right.
of mine.
Right.
Are there connections between any of this?
Well, I know a bit about the subject. I'm not an expert on the subject. So what I do think is where there's smoke, there's fire. And that I know many people have said that the map is fake, but I don't think it is. I actually don't think it is.
I'll tell you this. I couldn't tell you myself because, I'm not an expert, certainly not anywhere near an expert as you are in these matters. However, I did know Zena, and I know she was 100% on the level. And, I'm not saying that she couldn't be wrong, but I'm just saying she wasn't lying. I would stake my life on that.
Indeed. And I appreciate her passion. And I myself did go to France twice. I went to Chateau de la Rochefoucauld. I met Sonia Matosi, and she gave me 10 minutes of her time. And I was given a tour of the map room, the archive, and the library. And I was awed by that and grateful for that. And it is truly a beautiful, beautiful place. And the Leonardo da Vinci staircase is astonishing. And I have another work coming out about the story of Melusine. And her visage, of course, is all over the castle. Melusine is their coat of arms. Their medieval family lore states that they are her descendants. And this is where it gets interesting. Melusine is Mary Magdalene.
Uh-oh. I was wondering. I was waiting for it.
And I don't believe the map is a fake. There is too much about it that is right. There is a Occitan phrase or term on there, la barque. And Occitan was spoken as far north as this chateau, which shocked me. I was surprised, and I didn't know that until I arrived there. And I can't remember where I saw the reference. It might have been a sign or the museum nearby that Occitan had been spoken that far north. That truly surprised me. I did not know that. But I also identified the lower right-hand corner of her map as Castle Talmont. And the young lion of Talmont is a historical person named Lord Torres. And I wrote a blog about that a few years ago. And of course, that's out there now. People have been reading that blog and have been regurgitating that information and passing it around. So unfortunately, Castle Talmont was destroyed by Cardinal Richelieu in the war with the Huguenots. And Eleanor of Aquitaine gave the Templars that land for their castle. She gave them hundreds of miles of land on the French coastline. I was shocked at how much it truly meant. It's 4 hours by car from Chateau Rochefoucauld to Talmont Castle. And there's a link between the two families. There was a marriage in 1099, and Talmont had a harbor arm. And the Templars had a location nearby as well. So they were together on that. But the young Lion of Talmont, his coat of arms is a helmet with stag horns and a lion standing between the horns. And he was alive at the date that's concerning the map, which is 1347. He fought in the Battle of Poitiers and lost, of course, to the English. But he's the young Lion of Talmont. So I want to know, I don't know if I will ever know, but what voyages took place from that harbor to the New World.
Now, was that from, what was the harbor?
Talmont.
Talmont.
Excuse me, I'm getting a bit tired. Talmont, Talmont. And his name was Lord Torres. It's in my it's on my website, GretchenCornwall.com. But I was able to find his crest in a French book on heraldry, a very old book. And the line died out. His daughter married, and as is usually what happens is that when the male line dies out, the title goes back to the crown. And then 200 years later, that title gets dusted off, in this case, and given to an entirely different family with no blood connection, as a thank you for service to the crown. So that line died out. And Richard the Lionheart owned the castle during his lifetime and did spend some time there.
Oh, how
so it's well connected. It's well connected. And so you have Rochefoucauld and Talmont on the coast in an alliance. And I found a Templar Knight church within about a half an hour drive from the chateau with mermaids, with a mermaid on the portal, which indicates that the Rochefoucauld family had given them money to sustain their church, the Templar church there, and or perhaps even supplied children. And the trick is with that's speculation. But what would happen if you had a mistress and she bore you a child, you would, many aristocratic men would raise that child up and either send them to a prestigious order, which the Templars were, and William the Conqueror himself was called William the Bastard, and he became the King of England. So the lines were blurred, and they did get harder as the centuries rolled forward and more formal and tighter. But if you did have a child born, and I'm just speculating, but aside from money and trade, there could have been an exchange of family ties there, which I cannot prove. But if I were writing a book on fiction, it would be terrific to send your love child off to the Templar Knight Order nearby, down the road from your castle, so that you can stay close. I don't know. I'm being very fanciful here.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you saw the Mary Magdalene reference in the Templar Church, or
let's see, I'm trying. Yeah, yes. Melusine is a mermaid. And this is a very old story, Dark Age story. And the House of Lusignan, north of the Rochefoucaulds, also believe she is their ancestress. So Melusine,
Merovingian connections or something.
yes,
The fish, yeah.
Because Merove, of course, had two fathers. One was a water beast, if you will, and now you have Melusine. And Melusine is code for Mary Magdalene, and the reason we know that, and there are mermaids all over the castellations of the chateau. There's a mermaid on the church portal outside. That's in my book as well. One of the clues to her identity is that she ends up rescuing a nobleman, a handsome young man who lost a battle and needed tending to. And he finds himself in a magical forest where she tends to him, and then he proposes and says, let's marry. And she's supposed to be insanely beautiful and mysterious and gifted and insanely rich. So she says, I will marry you under one condition, that you will not come into my chambers on Saturday. So they marry, he agrees, and even the king and queen come to see who this remarkable woman is. And according to legend, she builds a church and a castle overnight. And she's always prefacing with her healing abilities, with her telepathic abilities, with all these very supernatural abilities. She's obviously a meta-human, if you want to look at it that way. She always prefaces it with, yes, but it's all because of Jesus Christ. So she's always having to preface it with that. And unfortunately, there was a great gathering. There were people coming from around the realm. He was insanely happy. She was. They had daughters. His brother shows up and says, "Hey, what's with your wife on Saturdays? Maybe she's entertaining somebody, and you're just being very foolish." So he of course starts to feel doubtful, and he spies on her. And she discovers this, becomes very upset, turns into a dragon, and flies away, never to return. And so it's a sad tale. But the kick is this: the clue is Saturday. Saturday is the Judaic holy day,
Right.
which was anathema to the Catholic Church. You had to worship on Sunday. So that was her big dark secret. Her ancestor, going back 500 years, was out of Israel, and so that is one of the clues. And what the imagery, of course, we could do an entire show on the imagery of the mermaid, shape-shifting and dragons, etc. I'm almost afraid to even bring this up, but this is the legend, and I've got hundreds of photographs from the castle. There is a bust of I believe, an admiral from maybe the late 1700s into the 1800s. In color, it's painted. Proud man, and at his neck, he has a brooch of a mermaid. Really fascinating. So that this symbol has been maintained and carried forward. The fish often will denote, and this is a landlocked castle, by the way, 4 hours from the coast by car. Can you imagine what that would have been like by horse or carriage? Very difficult. So there had to be another reason for this, and the reason is that a fish denotes the capacity to move through the inner planes of the mind, of consciousness. That's what the image is about. The inner planes are the waters, and the mermaid people are human beings with that extra and trained capacity of sight. The other reference to the dragon is, of course, the electrical energy of the human body. We all have this. Some believe that it can be trained to for greater states of consciousness, of sight, of knowledge, of healing. So that's the reference to that, and the dragon often represents that achievement. And of course, the secret societies all some focus on that capacity. From the tradition from the three wise men, from Christ the magician, Moses, who bested the Egyptian priesthood and took the ark with him. So it's quite far-reaching, but there is no way you can say publicly who you are. So you have to invent a story.
In symbols.
In symbols. Yeah.
Interesting. So if these images were in this Templar structure, if indeed they do represent the Magdalene,
Yes.
and obviously, and this is a question we've explored here a few times with different guests, was there a connection between the Templars and Mary Magdalene? Did the Templars venerate Mary Magdalene?
I believe that's absolutely the case. And indeed, they may have, some of them could have been related to her house. That's potential. So they may have also been related. A friend of mine years ago, talented mathematician, granted, without illness, war, famine, etc., and premature death. If you take a union from that couple exponentially out, you've got 35 million people today.
Right.
If they had 3 children, it's even bigger.
Yes.
And he had younger siblings. Thomas, of course, means twin.
Yes.
So what could they do? What capacities do they have that we are not allowed to know today? So it's quite a deep topic, and of course the women supported the ministry both financially and with their efforts. They looked after Jesus so he could minister, and they were not seen as apostles. And I am grateful to the shift in the Catholic Church in the 60s. The Pope said, okay, well, we think there's been a mistake. Pope Gregory.
Maybe she wasn't a prostitute after all.
Exactly. And but it's the damage is done. She's still being touted around the world as such. The damage
People
is done.
still do think that.
So
that's been a long time that's propaganda has been put out there.
Right. And if you look at medieval alchemy, it is actually, it's a combination of things, isn't it? Chemistry, but there's also a meditation alchemy and prayer work that comes out of this tradition that Moses wedded into his people that Jesus inherits and then goes the next level with, if one wants to put it that way. At least that's my thought. I know there are many thoughts out there. I myself think that he was resurrected, and I think that she was his equal partner in life. And
you do think he was resurrected?
Yeah, I do. And you have this, and why not? People have near-death experiences all the time.
But, there also is the idea, and I think quite a bit of evidence, that Jesus and Mary Magdalene were both part of the Therapeutae,
Yes.
which would have meant that they had skills in certain potions and things like that. And it's always, well, not always, but for the last, I don't know how many years, it's been my suspicion that the sponge that was soaked in vinegar that the Roman soldier put to Jesus's mouth when he wanted to drink was not vinegar, but a prepared potion that would make him unconscious and mimic death. So that when he was taken to the tomb, of course, we've got some images around that make it, in some Catholic churches, Station 14 of, the Stations of the Cross that depict Jesus being either put in or taken out of the tomb at nighttime, which would not have occurred.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hebrew law or Jewish law.
I hear you. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he might not have been in some, comatose type state. And then when things settled down, when Mary Magdalene went to the tomb, it appeared to her she was able to revitalize him.
Yeah. Lawrence Gardner is an amazing author. He passed in 2010, I believe, and I did some marketing work for him.
Oh, did you?
In early on, and he, of course, his books were amazing, and he what you're repeating right now is out of Bloodline of the Holy Grail,
right? Which is
it is, absolutely, and I will credit him with Melusine as Mary Magdalene.
Oh, really?
Yes, Realm of the Ring Lords. That is a wonderful book. It's a beautiful book. That is a magnificent book. So if you have a chance to look up Lawrence Gardner and Realm of the Ring Lords, was he the first to make that connection? I don't know, but I believe he is right on that front. And yes, I will never say, well, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. But I do think myself that the capacity for a resurrection of that nature is possible. And what you're saying is also possible. So I will
of Lazarus and being able to raise people from the dead. So I wouldn't completely rule that out.
Yeah. Also, if you study, I studied the Dark Age saints, and they're fascinating. They're walking on water. They're charming fish to bring rings out of pools. They're resurrecting people. They're healing people. They're calming storms and shooing away beasties of deep waters. They're fascinating, and it seems to me as time goes on, and I'm not, might be wrong on this front, but that kind of discussion of the miracles of saints dies down a bit as the centuries roll forward, because it then becomes blasphemous as you have the different councils, ecumenical councils, Council of Nicaea, 325, but a lot of those laws didn't reach into the British Isles until 597 with St. Augustus, who brought over a Merovingian princess to marry into the King of Kent. But it took centuries for British Christianity, which embraced reincarnation and other aspects that were deemed as heretical later. But the Dark Age saints are pulling off some pretty amazing stunts, if you will, miracles that are akin to what Jesus performed. So that's another topic.
Jesus, when people were remarking on his miracles, he said, even greater things than these shall ye do. So what do you mean by that?
Exactly.
It sounded like he meant, we have the capacity to do these things.
Yes.
So, who knows? But yeah, it's so interesting. And
it is. It is.
It's a fun mystery to explore, for sure. Now, in the Templar connection with Mary Magdalene, Oh, and I know that you recently discovered some references that are very early on to Mary Magdalene. I was wondering if you might share that.
Thank you. Yes, it's in my first book towards the end. And I just was blown away that I discovered this. The document from the 1100s shows Sophia, the muse of the seven liberal arts, on a throne and with a banner in Latin in her hands that looks oddly like a strange M. Around her in a circle are the seven muses. Arithmetic is holding a bead of a string of beads, and there are 22 beads. Her feast day is the 22nd of July.
Mm-hmm.
The geometry muse is holding a large compass that goes up to her waist. She's also holding a staff. And between the staff, the compass, and her skirt is the letter M.
Mm-hmm.
And astronomy is holding a jar, and she's pointing up to the night sky to what looks like a very warped constellation of Cassiopeia.
Mm.
Fascinating stuff, and I've highlighted that in my book, and that was done by Herod of Landsberg, and that abbey is near Magdeburg in Germany, and again, that abbey was founded by a Merovingian princess. Also in 1625, I discovered a star chart, a constellation chart that Christianized the constellations from the Greek to Christian symbols. And this was very strange, and I still have work to do on this. But you have Cassiopeia as Mary Magdalene. And I believe just by looking at this image, it's so hauntingly familiar and close to the Last Supper. She looks like the Mona Lisa. She's got a Mona Lisa smile, and she's sitting over an empty sarcophagus.
Mm.
It's astonishing. And what's weird about this star chart, the mother of Christ is not represented, but her parents are. So what's going on there? And Cassiopeia revolves around the night sky and looks like an M at times, looks like a W at times, or it could be Mary Magdalene.
Right.
And the North Star is Christ. So it's a very strange thing, and I would like to know more about the situation, but there's a language barrier issue with Latin in Germany for that time period, and I'm struggling to find information on him, but he died the same year that came out. The Holy Roman Emperor asked him to do that and was the patron of this work, and it's an amazing work. And the author of this work, it's beautiful. The images are stunning. And the Ark of the Covenant is in it, Moses, you get all the, you get the key players in this work. And it's just stunning. But it fell out of favor. It didn't even really take off. And I don't know, we all think that when somebody passes, when they're involved in this type of work, you ask yourself, what's happening? Now, maybe he knew he was ill and managed to finish his work before he died. But he died just after this came out. And of course, everything reverted back to the Greek constellations and never really took off in the rest of Europe as a viable set of images. But I've got two examples now of what I believe to be veneration of Mary Magdalene as Cassiopeia. So it's fascinating, and I hope that I discover further imagery of that.
Oh, that would be really interesting. I'm sure there's more to be found.
Yes.
Now, do you relate Mary Magdalene at all to the Black Madonnas in
Yes, I do. I do. And wondered whether or not, Sarah, the Egyptian,
Mm.
and of course, Sarah, as you know, means princess, literally in Hebrew. Could it have been her and her child? So I believe it's certainly one of them. And it's such a rare image. And I love, was it Begg's book, Begg? Is it Ian Begg's book on the Black Madonna? That was a fantastic book
Oh, that's it.
on that subject.
Look at that. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of opinion that the Black Madonnas are black because it's hidden. It's
Yes.
so real.
Yes.
Meaning is
There's a secret there. And of course, then there's a correlation to the Isis figure of Isis and Horus, which is considered to be the first historical representation of a Madonna figure or a mother and a child. And does it go back that far? And of course, you then get Cinderella wrapped up in that, equated with the Isis story. She's looking for Osiris, who had been murdered and dismembered by Set, scattered, and she had to disguise herself with coal on her face to sneak into a palace and find him and put him back together and bring him back to life. So it's all very strange and fascinating.
It is. I've just been speaking about this recently with my colleague James Martin, and he's of the increasingly as time goes forward of the strong opinion that Mary Magdalene was dark skinned, and
can you say that again?
I said he's beginning to get strongly the opinion that Mary Magdalene herself was dark-skinned.
Oh,
and
well,
that
yeah,
that this other talk about secret and hidden and all that was sort of just a distraction because
maybe
people did not want to say that she was black. Which
interesting.
I think that would be very interesting to know more about too. But if she was, and certainly Isis, being Egyptian, would have already been, fairly dark skinned, probably. It's interesting,
or at least olive toned. I have seen. Being a bit of a girly girl, and on stage in my life and handling makeup, decades of that, I have seen women who are Middle Eastern, very fair skin, who can wear the same color of makeup that I do. But I think that I'm sitting on the fence as to whether or not she had red hair. I know that that's a popular idea, but I'll sit on that fence. And they were born into a very strict, Jewish culture. And we don't respect how strict that was, let alone our medieval ancestors, how rigid the society was. And, so she would have had dark hair, she would have had, she would have been genetically from that area. So there are people who believe she might have been half French and had red hair. Okay, I don't know, but I'm willing to sit on the fence, and I'm certainly willing to be persuaded. There are things that I will not be rigid about, and as
Absolutely.
time,
if it can't be proven, I might have my opinion about it, but I'm certainly not going to swear to it.
And human beings want a God that looks like them.
Yeah.
Because we can relate better to that. So in Europe, Jesus has blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah.
You go to Ethiopia, he looks like them.
Yeah.
So, it's part our need to connect through physical imagery with something that we feel closer to and can understand. But the odds are that she would have been of that DNA from that area, and so would have Jesus.
Would have dark hair at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I understand what he's saying on that front, and I'm sitting on the fence on that one too.
Yeah.
So and there are times when I write about something that I will say, well, this might be possible, and this could be possible too. So there are aspects in my work where I'm pretty sure I believe I know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I can be very passionate, like Zena had been, and but I will make room for more evidence. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's very commendable. I think that's a good way to be, because if you're someone who can say, I'm not absolutely sure about this, here's a couple of options, but I do know this for sure. It makes it easier to accept what you're saying, because I know you're not just going to say something just to be giving me an answer.
Yes. And depicting her with red hair has become so popular.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's all right. And certainly red is fire, it's energy, it's blood. And of course, and that's could be construed as bloodline, but go back to a time when she is being depicted as a prostitute. Red meant had other connotations.
Yeah.
So they're bringing that into it is challenging. But in my first book, I did examine Renaissance imagery of her and challenge, the Renaissance masters and art schools passed philosophy down of this nature, and art is filled with strange imagery, and I highlight some of that in my book. One in particular was Martha talking to Mary Magdalene and convincing her to renounce her wicked ways. But the weird thing about this is Mary Magdalene has her arm on a mirror, and it's convex. It's black, and it's very strange. And in her hand is a mirror, her other hand. And her hand on this one, it's a Renaissance painting. I don't remember the name of the master. But her fingers are in the M hand sign that Scott Walter identifies as with Mary Magdalene. Mm-hmm. And Cassiopeia has been denounced for holding a hand mirror. And this is wrong. If you go to the Greek philosophy schools, the Platonic mystery school, men, know thyself. Look in the mirror, look within. Straighten out your inner stuff. And that's what today I'm amazed at the mindfulness that's out there, positive thinking that's out there. All of that has come from the golden thread that you can find in Christianity and Buddhism, this golden thread of figure yourself out. And that's what the mirror means. It's not a symbol of vanity. So it's symbols are interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They really are. They really are. I'm so glad that you were able to come on. We're getting close to the end. It's just been an amazing conversation. And I'm going to have you back. And I'm so sorry that Wayne Murphy and your team couldn't join us. But, certainly as you go along and have some more information that you want to reveal, come back on and bring
Thank you. Well, he... he's the gatekeeper, the team leader, the knight guarding the door. So I want to respect photographs and information coming from him. So he could certainly share photographs with you and talk you through the Nightstone, the tomb, the debris field, what I believe to be the sister site to Ross Castle, So, he could walk you through those and share photos with you another time. And I just so enjoyed my time with my colleagues. John Edwards is, if you think you've met some brilliant people and who know symbology, he's on another level entirely.
Oh, wow.
He is brilliant. He has blown me away. So, and Sean Williamson, I know you would just so appreciate being able to talk to them. I do.
Well, I hope that you'll connect me with all these wonderful people, and I hope
will.
that we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
And I hope that our audience will go visit you on your website at GretchenCornwall.com and have a look at your photo journal and also your book, because it's all very interesting. I'm so happy to meet you and have a new friend in this
Thank you. I look forward to
mystery.
Yes.
So, keep on going. We appreciate your good work.
Thank
And
you.
I love that people are out there putting those puzzle pieces together.
Yes.
It's so wonderful. So certainly give my regards to Wayne. And again, our regards to Court Lindell for setting up tonight's show for us. And we'll be speaking with Court soon. But Gretchen, thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Renee. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Be well.